Here now is Faith to Live By with Pastor Barber.
Welcome once again to Faith to Live By. Here we have no theme but Christ, and we never apologize for being old-fashioned. It is a delight to have you sharing with us as we worship together today. Faith to Live By is a ministry uniting all believers, regardless of denomination, under the banner of the cross. Many of you have commented on the song that the group, the quartet, does regarding the return of Jesus Christ. We call it the Great Day Medley. You know at least some of the numbers that are included. Please sing along with the quartet now on the Great Day Medley.
There is coming a great day, and it won't be very long, when all the saints are gonna gather around God's throne. We're gonna feast on milk and honey, sing and have a good time. There is coming a great day, when the Lord returns for his bride. I know not the day, nor do I know the hour, when the Son of God will return in all his glory and power. It may be in the morning, it may be night or noon, but I can tell by looking at the signs that his coming will be very soon. There is coming a great day, and it won't be very long, when all the saints are gonna gather around God's throne. We're gonna feast on milk and honey, sing and have a good time. There is coming a great day, when the Lord returns for his bride. I've had pain and sorrow, had a lot of troubles and trials, but just one glimpse of those pearly gates will make it all worthwhile. Sometimes I cry in the darkness, my body all racked with pain, but when I see my Savior's face, he'll wipe every tear away. There is coming a great day, and it won't be very long, when all the saints are gonna gather around God's throne. We're gonna feast on milk and honey, sing and have a good time. There is coming a great day, when the Lord returns for his bride. There is coming a great day, when the Lord returns for his bride. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great getting up morning, fairly well, fairly well. They'll be shouting on the hills of glory, shouting on the hills, yes, shouting on the hills, when we reach that land of which we've heard the story. They'll be shouting on the hills of God. They'll be shouting on the hills of glory, shouting on the hills, yes, shouting on the hills, when we reach that land of which we've heard the story. They'll be shouting on the hills of God. Oh, I'm singing, oh, I'm shouting, shouting on the hills, shouting on the hills. There is coming a great day, when we're shouting on the hills of God.
Thank you, gentlemen. And now the Bible has the answer. The questions are yours. I go to the for answers, and we have good questions once again. Question number 1. Can you help us know what is God's and what is Caesar's? Matthew 22:30. Well, there were people who tried to trip Jesus up and they asked if it was right to pay taxes to Caesar. Jesus asked for a coin and then said, "Whose superscription is this?" They said, "It's Caesar's." Jesus replied, "Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's." Jesus recognized that on this temporal level there are things that governments have control over, things like taxes and speed zones. But also there's a realm that is reserved for God. And when governments transgress there and try to impose their will upon the consciences of people, great suffering takes place. It has happened again and again through history. But God has a claim upon human beings. John chapter 4 says that those that worship God must worship Him in spirit and in truth. Governments have their place, but God too has a legitimate claim on every life. And now question number 2, is it possible that a spirit-filled person can pass on his anointing by the laying on of hands? Well, Mark chapter 16 verse 18 says that these signs shall follow believers. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Both in the Old Testament and the New Testament, God used people to impart blessing to other people by the laying on of hands. It's more than tokenism. God honors it, and people are healed and people are given gifts of the Spirit in response to the laying on of hands. I read in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 6 that Timothy received a gift of prophecy by the laying on of hands. Perhaps today's church needs to discover again this ancient practice of the laying on of hands. God honors it. And now question number 3, what did Jesus mean that the scriptures cannot be broken? John 10 verse 35. Well, 2,000 years ago, the New Testament had not yet been written. So every reference by Jesus that you read about in the Gospels was to the 39 books of the Old Testament that were recognized by the Jewish people as being inspired and so canonical in their day. Now that fact should carry a powerful message to everybody who is tempted to doubt the inspiration and authority of the Old Testament. Jesus said, speaking of the Old Testament, the scriptures cannot be broken. That includes the book of Genesis. That includes the first 12 chapters of the book of Genesis. God honors His word above His very name, and Jesus said, speaking of the Old Testament, the scriptures cannot be broken. Thank you so much for these questions. I trust the answers have been helpful. If you have a question you'd like me to use on the Bible as the answer, please write it out, send it to me. I'll be pleased to hear from you, and I'll get to your question on the air just as quickly as I can. And when you write, all the address you need is simply Faith to Live By, Box 426, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3C2H6. Rick Canal. Jesus is all the world to me.
Jesus is all the world to me, my life, my joy, my all. He is my strength from day to day. Without Him I would fall. When I am sad, to Him go. No other one can cheer me so. When I am sad, He makes me glad. He's my friend. Jesus is all the world to me, and true to Him I'll be. Oh, how could I this friend deny, when He's so true to me? Following Him, I know I'm right. He watches o'er me day and night. Following Him by day and night, He's my friend. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be His than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or lands. I'd rather be led by His nail-pierced hand than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords.